Hello, in this video we're going to look at how to move the core or slider in your mold and how to set that up on your injection molding machine in a safe, reliable way. So let's jump into that here now. So to start with, let's just review how a simple slider would move in your mold. Now, of course, your mold, it might be different, it might be set up. This is just an example as such. So we have a slider on the moving side of the mold where the core is, the plastic part is indicated here, and we see these holes in the side of the part. This is being formed by the slider. Okay, on the fixed side, we have the angled pin and a heel block. Now, as the mold is opening, what's going to happen is this slider block is going to slide on this angled pin. And as it slides, it's going to start to move outwards. And when it's fully open then and come off the angled pin, the slider is going to be in the fully outward position, away from the part, clear of the part. So then we can operate our ejectors, move our ejectors forward and eject the part from the core safely. Now, what we don't want to do, and we want to be very careful of this, we do not want to move those ejectors forward while that core block and slider is fully in the in position. Otherwise, we're going to hit it and we're going to damage the ejector pins as well as the slider block. So we don't want to do that, could cause a lot of damage. Likewise, just to be safe and to be careful when we're setting up the mold, we should limit the pressure of the ejectors forward just so that they're just enough pressure to move the ejectors at the set speed. Now, we have to allow for variation in our process. So giving it 10-15% extra force would be prudent and sensible. However, setting it to a maximum ejection force only could cause damage if there's any pickup in the ejector pin, or if that, for whatever reason, that in slider was in the in position, then there would be an issue. It could damage it. So setting the force, limiting the force of the ejectors may save or reduce the amount of damage that could be caused. Now let's look at how to set this up on your machine. Now your machine may be different than this. This is a Krauss-Maffei machine. So your machine may well be different than this. And this is just really an example of how to set it up, at least on a Krauss-Maffei machine. So this is for the core on the moving plate. At the top here, we just have some settings for the or information really on the cycle time, the cooling time, clamping force, mold open position, etc. So really under Krauss-Maffei, that can be modified. You can modify what information comes up here, or you can just close down that window. Now, on the setup of the cores then, so it allows us to specify a check position for the mold. So for moving in, it's going to wait until the mold is fully open to 250 millimeters. Now we could use an external energy supply, perhaps an external power pack. Um, we can also switch off the hydraulics at the end position. So perhaps there's a heel block on the mold keeping the cores in. We don't need to keep the external force on it. We could set a time dependent, give it a second or two to actually actuate the cores in. Okay, so we can have a monitoring time as well, that the cores reach their end position, they're fully in position within that set time. Otherwise, the machine will alarm out. So we're going to move the cores in at this speed a setting here of 5 liters per minute. Just the hydraulic speed really doesn't really tell us a lot, but it just gives us an indication low to high really. And we can set a pressure then at which we're going to move the cores at. And always prudent and safe when we are initially moving the cores either in or out, to do it at a slow speed and a slow pressure until you become confident that you have the sequence right, so that there's no damage being caused. Also, you can set a hold pressure, a pressure at which you can hold the cores in during the cycle. Now, likewise, for moving the cores out, we can set a position. So we could have a 0 position here if we wanted to move the cores out at a at when the mold is still closed, or some intermediate position as the mold opens, if your machine allows that. Some machines are not sophisticated enough and you have to wait until the mold is fully opened. Okay, so again, we can an external energy supply, we can switch over at the end position, switch off at the end position. We can set a core actuation time, a monitoring time. Here we set the speed at which we're going to move the core out and the pressure at which we're going to move the core out, and the force we're going to use to keep the core out. So just some final thoughts on that. When you are moving the core out, I wouldn't slam it back fully to the back position. I would step down the pressure or limit the pressure maybe in some way, so that when the machine is running, you're not hearing a banging noise on the mold. So try to limit that pressure so that it's just enough to move it out, maybe a little bit more than enough, but not enough to cause it damage in any way over time, because the bolts can work themselves loose in a mold, especially on a core. Especially if the mold is hot, the oil can leak out of the cores. Now, there are other ways you could be using an electric core system, and again, watching the speed and the force that you're using when you're actuating them cores. Okay, I hope you got some value from that information. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like and subscribe button, just helps to get this information out to other people who are interested in injection molding, and I'll notify you when I upload more videos like this on the subject of injection molding. As always, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. My details are below. And if you want more information on how to set up and optimize your injection molding process, I do run a course on injection molding. You can check out that link below. Until next time, stay safe. Thank you.